Shakes loose and has a first down.
Eckler speeds out of there.
Touchdown, Jaden Daniels.
This is the Son of Washington podcast.
What's up, Redskins Nation? This is Ray Smith and the Son of Washington podcast. That's right. You heard me right. Redskins Nation. I know it's Commanders, but old habits are hard to break. And I've got a guest with me today that I'm pretty sure is going to agree that old habits are super hard to break. It's my buddy Ty Games. Ty is not only one of the biggest up-and-coming Apex creators in the digital marketplace, but he bleeds burgundy and gold through and through. And I think, Ty, you might be representing the 410. Is that correct, my friend?
I am in the 410, and the blood is burgundy, baby.
Oh, the blood is burgundy in the right arm and gold in the left. Left hand up, my friend.
Left hand
We're
up,
having ourselves a football season, my guy. Thanks for being here with me.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it.
Dude, can we talk about what an absolute unbelievable season that we're having so far this year? I mean, look, like we talked about on my first episode of the podcast last week, I am not at all like a homer. Being in the media and on the Redskins beat will teach you one thing. It's that you got to shoot it straight down the middle. You can't really let your fan feelings get in the way when you're covering this team. And that's ruined me a little bit. But brother, I said it preseason, we're 5-win floor, 8-win ceiling. People are not letting me forget that because we are one game away from my floor. Talk to me about it out there in Baltimore, brother. You're getting the blast from the birds this week for sure, but how have things been, man? How's the season going?
I mean, everyone around here is excited. I'm starting to see a lot more Washington apparel, even around Baltimore. There's a lot more, Washington jerseys running around. But heading into this season, my expectations were pretty low, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I just didn't feel like we had enough talent on both sides of the ball, offense with the receivers, defense with the secondary, and the front seven just being a little suspect. But all I wanted this year was for Jaden Daniels, JD5, to just prove that he was the guy. And he did that very quickly, and he continues to do that. And anything from here is just a bonus for me. I'm stoked. Right now, it looks like we could be a playoff team. So, I hate to say the P word right now, but it's trending in that direction.
They had a big test on Sunday. We talked about on the show Friday. The comparison game, the comparisons from JD5 to Lamar and all these sorts of things. And we'll get into all of that, every bit of it. But the first thing that I want to talk about on today's show is the question that was not only looming pre-game this week, but the big question that seems to caught fire today, the game after. Baltimore news media is doing everything in the world that they can to prove that this is not a rivalry at all, that the Redskins are not our rival. And you know what's so funny to me? It almost reminds me of back in the early 2000s when Maryland was playing Duke and the Duke fans were chanting "not our rival" while Maryland was beating them into the absolute ground.
Oh man.
I miss college basketball before the Big Ten got involved.
Yeah.
But Sarah Ellison, who is the editor and works for Man in the Crowd, she's co-host of Ravens Vault, covers the Ravens like crazy, big account, 63,000 followers. She basically posted a manifesto today as a post-game kind of an update. And her first point, she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 diamonds or 7 points that she took away from the game. Point number 1 is there's still no rivalry here. I'll read what Sarah has to say. Still no rivalry here. This was the Commanders' regular season Super Bowl, not the Ravens. Ravens were always in control. Respect to the Commanders and their start, but this is the heavyweights, and they don't belong on the same level as the Ravens yet. Washington still hasn't beaten a winning team. I could do an entire podcast on
just that point.
On just this first point. But for a team that wants, or a fan base specifically, that wants us to believe so strongly that we are not their rival, we have seen some absolute maniacal rival stuff out of Baltimore fans over the last 24 hours. I know you're there. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about it. What's the rivalry been like from you as someone that sat in the stands yesterday?
So I will tell you this. Anyone that tells you it's not a rivalry is bold-faced lying to you. I grew up in this area in Ravens territory, and any time the Redskins would lose on Sunday, when I went to school the next day, everyone was letting me hear it. Even teachers. There would be Mondays where I didn't even want to go to school because they gave me so much crap. They were like constantly on me, and I never understood it because we're not in the same conference. We're in the same state. We play each other once every 4 years. So
it's the Battle of the Beltway, right?
But
we're connected by one strip of Beltway.
And that's
also
exactly it.
For those of you guys that may or may not realize this, because believe it or not, a lot of people still think that the Commanders are from like Washington, as in Seattle, Washington, not East Coast Washington, D.C., which makes me laugh hysterically every time I think about it. The Commanders actually play in Maryland. They don't even play in the district right now. It's been since what, 1997?
Yeah.
The stadium was actually, is that the right year? I can't remember. It's been a long
97
time.
or 98. Yeah.
Yeah. The house that Jack Kent Cook built and Dan Snyder desecrated. They've been in Landover, Maryland. So this is a battle of two Maryland based teams, at least in regards to where they actually play.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say this, 2008, we played them in Baltimore, and it felt like a rivalry game then, because I'm pretty sure we started that season 6-2. So, the fans for Washington were a little hyped up, as they were yesterday. And 2012, everyone remembers that game and how crazy it was in Washington, going to overtime, RG3 getting hurt, Kirk Cousins coming in, come back, we win. Yep. That was absolutely chaos. Then 2016, we beat them in Baltimore. So there's definitely some bad blood there. So,
and here's what I said, Ty. This is my response to her. I was like, I actually totally agree with you that as far as the teams are concerned, there's probably not a rivalry here. This is for sure not Washington Dallas, and let's be totally honest, Washington Dallas is not what it used to be either. But the Ravens fans sure didn't seem to act like this wasn't a rivalry when the Redskins beat them in their preseason Super Bowl last year and broke their preseason winning streak, and they lost their ever-loving minds. Yep. So I'm just saying, if you're going to be this upset about losing a preseason game, miss me with this concept that the regular season game didn't mean anything to you, that this was just another Sunday to you guys. Come on, guys.
Look,
come on.
When we left that stadium, if it wasn't a rivalry, we wouldn't have been hearing the stuff that the Ravens fans were saying. They were telling us to go back on 295, 295's that way. They were telling us go home, all kinds of stuff. They were definitely making it personal. There's definitely an element of a rivalry there. The only thing that they like to say is, well, you got to be good to have a rivalry. And, we're good this year. And they were definitely talking.
I can agree. And I can agree that this is a young team that's like earning their stripes. They're like proving all the things. I don't know the points she made. I'm not going to go through bullet point by bullet point. If you guys want to check it out, it's on my Twitter account at This Is The Ray. I wrote like basically a manifesto response right back to her. Some of the things that she said were funny. Some of my responses were snarky. She didn't respond, which is typical of Ravens fans when you get put in check, that they just kind of go quiet and disappear. But obviously she said one of the points she made was that Jaden is not ready to be being compared to Lamar. And I don't understand the offense that Ravens fans seem to be taking to this comparison from Jaden Daniels to Lamar. I mean, like, if you are a young, dual threat, mobile, powerful arm quarterback, wouldn't you want to be compared to the guy that's won 2 MVPs that plays similarly to you? Like, since when did comparing Jaden Daniels to anyone become offensive? And then honestly, on behalf of Jaden, like, I wish we just let him be his own guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ravens fans, I'm not sure if you saw this. There's a kid. I wish I knew his name. He's a Ravens creator. He kind of went viral in the DC area last week because he was like breaking down, I think it was Jaden's touchdown pass in Cleveland to De'Ami Brown. And he's like, Jaden Daniels is a good player, but like, you can't compare him to 8. He's like, this kid says, he's Jaden McDaniels. And he's like, I mean Daniels. And then he's like, he can't throw like Lamar does. And then he hits play, and Jaden just bombs his beautiful De'Ami Brown bomb. And he's like, man, like, you know what I mean? Like, he just totally falls off of it. I gotta ask you, man, like, as someone that's lived in Baltimore, you've seen Lamar as a rookie. It's been force fed down your throat. I mean, I don't think these comparisons are super far off. And I don't think that Jaden's trajectory is super far off. As much as I wanted to be his own guy, I think this is a fair comparison.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a fair comparison. Like you said, being in this area, I'm exposed to Lamar Jackson talk all the time. And personally, I'm a fan of the guy. I know, it's a bit of a toss up right now with, is he good enough, or, how good is he in the pocket as a passer? But I'm a fan of Lamar. And I will say, I just think it's natural for people to compare people in the NFL. I mean, when they come out of the draft, you're getting, who does this player remind you of? And there's comparisons at the combine and everything. So that's constantly going to happen.
It is literally a statistic that the national media uses to help the normie at home, the normal, like 9 to 5 armchair quarterback. Look, everyone in the world is psychotic about these teams as we are. I completely and totally understand that. But very similarly, you hear comps for players. Oh, Brett Favre, his comp, is how much Dan Marino is he, and how much Steve Young is he, and I mean, this is not the first time we've heard this, and so to me, this idea that Ravens fans are getting all hurt in the shorts about the fact that Jaden's being compared to Lamar, it honestly comes off like a little bit like weak to me, like they're super self-conscious and like they're afraid of losing it.
Right. I would say the comparison that bothers me more is the RG3 comparison. I love RG3's rookie year. Obviously, it'll always hold a special place in my heart. It sucks it ended the way it did, but I know the numbers are pretty similar. But I'll tell you right now, Jaden made 3 or 4 throws yesterday that Robert never made.
Because Robert couldn't pass.
Exactly. And yes, they run, Washington quarterbacks, I get it, but he is not RG3. He is a pure dual threat quarterback that can analyze and read a defense, and he's a next level, man. He's the next level.
I'll be honest with you. Watching Jaden through the draft, I 1,000% am dealing with RG3 like PTSD. Like that Ravens game you talked about, like I see it in my nightmares.
Yep.
And I'd be lying to you. I'd be lying to you in game 1 when he got hurt and had to get pulled for a play. Or was that game 2? Game 1 or game 2 where he had to get pulled for a play?
Yeah.
Where I literally was like, there it is. I was like, yeah, there it is.
I still tense up a bit every hit, every little piece of contact. I do tense up. He's so
small.
Yeah.
The guy is smaller. He's thinner than Robert was. And like I could do podcasts on Robert for years, and like I have to try to behave myself because Robert sued me over a t-shirt design and like sent his lawyers after me and all this kind of stuff because I was making RG3 t-shirts before he had RG3 copywritten, and they sent me a cease and desist.
Oh man.
And I was like, where's your copyright? And they're like, we don't have one yet, but we promise you that our lawyers are better than yours, so if I were you, I'd make this go away. Like that was 100%. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. So we pulled the shirts down. Is what it is. So I mean, like the biggest thing to me about the difference in Robert and Jaden is Robert, respectfully to you, Robert, if somehow you hear this, dude, you were kind of a douchebag when you were in DC. And like those of us that were on the beat, we got to see it. Like your parents ran your press conferences. Like you wouldn't talk to anybody. Like you were kind of a jerk. Like you were riding this prima donna thing. And if I'm being honest, you're doing the same thing right now. You literally put a post out from your podcast and your blog last week that was like, Jaden Daniels is going to finish what I started. Excuse me? What did you start? You did nothing here. You did absolutely nothing. And what bothers me about it and where I get super hot is I was in his first press conference in the media room under FedEx Field at the draft party after RG3 got drafted. And everyone in that room was lobbing Robert Griffin III softball questions. Oh, how excited are you to be the number 2 pick? Yada, 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 yada. The microphone comes to me and I said, Robert, we've had like 30 different quarterbacks since 1991. We can't seem to keep one. What are you going to do to change that? And he made a bunch of empty promises to me about, oh, this is what we're going to do. That's what we're going to go look it up. That bite was the only bite that got used by ESPN. In fact, Fran Charles from the NFL Network leaned over to me in the room and was like, whoa, brother, fastball. And I was like, well, you guys are asking them stupid questions.
Right.
Like,
we want to get into this.
Let's get into this.
Yeah, let's peel back the layers.
We just traded the next 5 years of our future for you to be the guy. And midway through the season, you were never the same again. And the biggest issue to me was because it was always about Robert, and Jaden is very different in that way.
I agree.
Jaden does not seem self-centered, and he very well might be. Like, I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying, like, he doesn't appear to be that. I don't think Robert was at the stadium at 4:00 in the morning doing his lifting and doing 2 hours of virtual reps by 8, and the first guy in the last one. That doesn't sound like the Robert that I saw when I was there. And so the comparisons to me, I think that Jaden can run recklessly like Robert did. We saw it in college. We saw him get mashed by guys in college. And so I had a little bit of the PTSD, just a little bit. And so that's I went down a long road there, but the reality of it is I think that they're a very different player, but my comparison is not person to person. My comparison is 100% fear. It's all the way fear.
Yeah. I mean,
because
we got some trauma.
I don't want to lose it again.
We have
trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to lose it again, man. You know, like we've seen the end of a story that started like this. Now, the difference is RG3 did not have the same success in the first 5 weeks that Jaden had. They won some, they lost a bunch.
Yeah.
They ended up having to win a bunch of games to win the division that year. Part of that was Kirk Cousins. Part of that was RG3. A lot of that was Alfred. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot that's going on. So it's not apples to apples in regards to the player. And so I gotta be honest, man, it burned me when Robert posted that this week.
It hurt me too, because like you said, you really didn't do anything here. Like, I understand 2012 was magical. We went back to the playoffs, but there was a lot of like drama and, back and forth. And
there was a ton.
That season didn't give me the hope that this one does. We started 3-6, and obviously it's a long season. Who knows what's going to happen over the next few weeks, but this season has given me more hope than that. So when I saw him say, "Oh, you can finish what I started," it's like, you had 1 year, man.
It's you know what? It's so funny. I don't know if you're a Star Wars nerd like I am.
Absolutely.
But episode 7, Kylo Ren's talking to Darth Vader, and Kylo Ren is absolutely nobody.
Yep.
And he's like, "Grandfather, I'll finish what you started." And we're all like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah.
Like, this is not your throne, bro. Like,
yeah.
All right. So back to what Sarah and all her wonderful storylines. I'm gonna go through this quick because I don't want to do it really big. But the one thing I did want to bring up, this made me laugh. Sarah, you didn't respond to me on this, and for those of you guys that are just joining us now, I'm talking about my response to Sarah Ellison this morning. Sarah's a creator and co-host of the Ravens Vault. She's a former, I guess, Ravens.com editor. She worked for the team. Obviously has a vested interest in what's going on here. She wanted us to put some respect on Lamar's name. The actual quote was, speaking of Lamar, in comparing him to RG3, he is now second in all time for most career rushing yards, passing Cam Newton. Put some respect on Lamar's name. I don't think anyone's not put respect on Lamar's name, number one, but she goes on and makes another point and says, Lamar spread the ball around on Sunday to 6 different receivers. And then she quotes the yards for the receivers. Jaden hit 7. I'm just
exactly.
I'm just saying, and I'm not saying, obviously I'm not like the orange slices and take a participation trophy home guy. I'm just saying, like, when you're trying to compare that one guy is better than the other by saying that the better player completed to less receivers, and then you don't even mention it because it doesn't fit your narrative. That's a little weak. It's a little weak, Sarah.
I'll agree. I think it's a little weak. You have to compare both of them and what they did. And as somebody that was there in person, Lamar did play great. Okay, running the football, throwing the football, but and this isn't me trying to stir the pot or anything like that. The throws that Jaden made were far superior than Lamar's throws, because our secondary, they were 5-10 yards away from the Ravens receivers every time. Zay Flowers
like always?
cooked. Mark
You mean
Andrews,
like always?
Mark Andrews is reborn apparently against us, and Lamar was hitting guys that were wide open, had yards of separation. Jaden was putting it where only his guy could catch it, because if he didn't, it was either incomplete or it was going to be intercepted. So the throws that Jaden made, you can't watch the tape and tell me that his throws weren't impressive.
But you can't be competitive when you can't cover. And you just said Sunday, you're sitting in your seat, you're seeing the same thing. These guys aren't anywhere close. Help me here.
It wasn't even like it was an extended play where the coverage breaks down. A guy reroutes and throws his arm up and Lamar's scrambling and chucks it up. It was in the pocket, clean, 2-3 seconds into the play and you saw it develop and guys were just in zones, in the holes in the zones, just wide open. And like we were watching it firsthand. Our seats were lower levels, so they were good seats, and we could just see that we had no chance. The corners, the secondary was atrocious.
I think that anyone that's been fair to this Washington team this year has said, I mean, obviously you go back to the introductory press conferences, and the very obvious Adam not real thrilled with the roster that he inherited and is doing his absolute best to put on a brave face and be like, there's some good pieces here, like there's some young guys that we'd like to build on, and we've got some great draft picks, but none of it oozes confidence. And to me, on that day, I was like, it's secondary, dude. Like the secondary is absolutely freaking pitiful. Yeah. When you have fans that right now will look you dead in the eye, Ty, help me out, and say to you, number 25, Benjamin St. Juste is our number one corner. Brother.
Oh.
I don't get, and I honestly, I hate social media sometimes. And St. Juste hasn't been too bad, but it was Derek Forrest. Mm-hmm. His poor dad has been all over social media mad that his son's not dressing. And then when he did dress last week, he got like 2 snaps, and his dad's like, 2 snaps, 2 tackles.
Yep.
Guys, none of you are NFL caliber.
Right.
You're just not. Or you'd be playing. This is the first time since I was like 5 years old that there are like mommies and daddies running this team that feel like they're semi-competent at all. If you can't start for this defense that is begging people to start in the secondary, I want to tell you.
Yeah.
Because it's rough.
The thing is, with the secondary, the state that the secondary is in, you have an opportunity to step up and be that guy. And no one is doing that right now. So that just tells you the talent is lacking. It's very clear. I think you're going to see it more when we play better offenses towards the end of the year this year. The secondary, we knew there was going to be limitations with the defense. We got a little spoiled because, we went on a little bit of a run, 4-game winning streak, and we kind of forgot about that a little bit. And what the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, what they did was they brought us back down to earth and said, hey, this is still a problem.
The thing that frustrates me is coming out of Ron Rivera, the belief was that the defense, if there was any good players on this team, they were playing for the defense. And the reality of it is they're not.
Nope.
I don't understand if it's scheme. I don't understand if they're just tired and old or if it's want to. But our defensive line that's supposed to be a strength has been terrible. I mean, terrible is maybe a little bit strong, but let's say it this way. They're not producing the level that we expected them to. I think John Allen and Daron Payne had something like 6 combined tackles. And I don't have the stats in front of me, so this is just me freeballing. I could be totally wrong. Go ahead, correct me, at me, whatever. Tell me what the actual numbers are. But for the purpose of this conversation, let's just say it's not been good at all. And it's been to the point where I'm kind of split right now, Ty, because on the one hand, you never want to see someone get hurt. You never want to see someone not be able to play and do the things, specifically someone that you're paying as much as John Allen and someone that you believed was going to be a building block. But news broke earlier following the game that John Allen, his torn pectoral is way worse than anyone thought. It's going to require at least one, if not multiple surgeries. He is absolutely out for the year. And my gut reaction was like, meh.
I definitely think they've been underperforming. Allen, obviously a vocal leader in the locker room, whether you like him or not.
But are these guys getting tired of the song and dance? I mean, look, even on Sunday, I tweeted about it. John Allen did not lead the pregame hype session this week. Bobby Wagner did.
Right.
And I tweeted, Bobby to John with the Captain Phillips gif, like, I'm the captain now. Mm-hmm. Like, it has rung so hollow to see this guy talking about things like, oh, leave it on the field, show people who you are, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes out there and he has no tackles.
Yeah.
He's completely invisible for the whole game. You are way too big and way too paid to put up the statistics that you're putting up. And like, again, like, hear me. I'm not happy that he's hurt. I'm not wishing ill on anyone, but like with a guy like Johnny Newton, who's clearly drafted to be one of the long-term answers on this defensive line, who now is going to have an opportunity because John's gone and there's no pressure to play him over, like play John over Johnny. Am I wrong? Like, am I just have I become that jaded as a fan that I see guys like Allen? Like, I honestly, you know what my biggest disappointment is?
What's that?
I'm disappointed he's hurt and we can't trade him.
Yeah.
Because I thought that John and Duran were both going to be trade pieces.
So here's kind of where I'm at with it, right? I think they're both talented. I think they've both been underperforming. And there seems to be a split in the locker room right now with Ron's guys and, you know, old regime guys. I know Ron didn't draft John, but old regime guys.
We'll make sure to send you your ring, Ron.
Yeah, but then you got the new guys, and you see Ron's picks like Jamin Davis and Emmanuel Forbes, healthy inactives for the game. You got healthy scratches, and you got John Allen and Deron Payne that are kind of underperforming. Last year, what did they do? Two of the other Ron guys, Montez Sweat and Chase Young, got sent off. And we thought, okay, they got rid of the edge guys. At least we still got the interior. Well, now the interior guys aren't performing well. So obviously there's speculation based off what we've seen that they could be shipped out. Me personally, if you're going to trade one of them, I definitely think you trade John. I do like John Allen, but I do think you can get some value there for him.
This year now.
I would keep Deron Payne. Deron Payne's still young. He came into the league young. I think he's only 23, 24 right now on his second contract. So I think there's still the guy there that you keep. But as a whole, both of them have been underperforming, and I think it just hurts the defense. I mean,
Deron's 27 right now.
Deron is 27?
Deron Payne's 27 years old.
Wow. Okay. I was totally off on that then.
Yeah, I was like, I hope you're right, but I don't think you are.
But regardless, your key players, your two interior hearts of the defense. You know, obviously you bring in Bobby Wagner, older guy, towards the end of his career, he's still a beast. You bring in Frankie Louvu, a lot of high expectations, arrive with violence, all that stuff. You got John Allen and Deron Payne that are supposed to be your centerpieces of your defense, and they're not playing well.
And I honestly but here's the problem. Like, I don't even think that John and Duran have been opening things up to let Frankie and Bobby play.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like they're having a net zero impact on the field, and people are going to crush me for this. But oh man, like, it's just not there.
Right. And if it's not there, you got to fix it. How do you do that?
I saw a tweet today. I don't remember who it was, and if it was you, not you, but if it was someone listening to this show, I apologize. Don't hate me, but they basically built a chart saying like, okay, as we approach the trade deadline, here's some of the Commanders trade chips. You got Emmanuel Forbes will probably get us a 4th round pick, and I was like, in what universe?
I don't even think.
Dude? If someone offered me a 4th round pick for Emmanuel Forbes right now, I will deliver him by hand.
Yeah,
I mean.
I'll pay them to take him.
There's no way that they're getting that. And then Jamin Davis, they said like 4th round, 5th round. I'm like, guys, you're insane. You're absolutely insane. I mean, you look at what they did for Chase Young, and the difference in what you talked about a minute ago. I think the difference with Sweat was Sweat could play.
Right.
The issue with Sweat was not at all that like they didn't want him here. He was on the end of a contract that they weren't going to. They weren't the regime that was going to pay him.
Right. Exactly.
Like honestly, it's like. The better thing, and I wouldn't have been surprised if Harris was involved in this one, because the better thing for an organization that was very clearly getting ready to blow everything up is to get draft capital.
Yep.
Because at the time, at that midseason mark, they weren't really in contention for the second overall pick. I mean, you got to remember at the beginning of the season, they won 4 games, and they were all like in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
And so this was a team that approaching the trade deadline was trending to be picking like 15, 16, 17. So you have to trade the guys like Sweat and Chase so that you can get draft capital to try to move up, because the Redskins are like me. I make this joke. And I keep saying Redskins, so I apologize. The Commanders, but the Redskins nation understand this. I joke that like I am like the Washington Redskins of fat. Like, I'm not so fat that I actually want to do anything about it to change it. But I'm not skinny enough that it's worth me being skinny. And the Redskins have been that way with draft picks for years. They're not bad enough to get the pick that changed everything. And in fact, the only way they got RG3 was by doing basically what San Francisco did to get Trey and trade 10 trillion draft picks to get a guy that absolutely flopped. And then the only reason that San Francisco survived is because they found Brock Purdy by luck in the 7th round. Mr. Irrelevant has ended up being better than the guy they traded all these picks for. And so the Commanders had to have capital. I totally understand trading Sweat. Chase Young was traded for a net of nothing to San Francisco. San Francisco traded us a 3rd round pick and received, if I'm not wrong, a higher 3rd round pick than they traded for us in compensation when he left. They traded nothing to get Chase Young. Zero. Like, people don't understand sometimes the way that the economy of the NFL works.
Right.
So when you look at Chase going for a 3rd, and you're like, oh my God, he's a 2nd overall pick. He defensive rookie of the year. Okay, he got injured. And no one wants to talk about the fact. I mean, oh, he only had 1 sack his 2nd season, but he got injured. No, he got injured in November.
Yeah, late in the
year. He
year.
had 1 sack going into like week 14 or something ridiculous like that. And so he gets traded for effectively nothing. San Francisco gave up nothing to get Chase Young.
Yeah, I think it's the hometown people overestimating or overvaluing their guys. I mean, it's crazy to me though, because you look at it and like you and I, we know Jamin Davis and Emmanuel Forbes. There's not really much.
They're not worth anything.
They're not worth.
Give me a ham sandwich and I'm happy.
It's like they're not on the field right now. Like if they're healthy and actives and they haven't played a lot this year, and Jamin obviously moved from linebacker to edge, like. Obviously, we don't know what to do with them. There's not a spot for them. Why would you think other teams would think there's any value there?
I can't justify Emmanuel Forbes in the 3rd round. I cannot justify him in the first half of the first round. I do not understand how this ever happened.
You could do a whole podcast on Ron Rivera draft strategy and his picks.
I don't want to.
He
I don't want to.
So hard on everything.
Oh my God,
everything.
It is so bad. And then for him to have the stones to be like, oh, I really think the Washington's found their quarterback, and when they win their Super Bowl, send me my ring. Like, are you kidding me?
And
then you watch him on NFL Network. Have you seen him on NFL Network talking about Jaden Daniels?
No,
like,
I
refuse to watch this that. And watch. Dude, I don't want to hear what you have to say about him at all, brother. Like,
yeah. I mean, thanks for letting us get him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you got us there.
Yep.
So I guess we can send you a ring. Crazy season, like I said. The last thing I'm going to say about this Ravens rivalry, if the Ravens and Redskins or the Ravens and the Commanders are not a rivalry at all, help me understand why drunk Ravens fans are walking up and down the street and punching Commanders fans in the face for no reason at all. Have you seen this footage? Have you seen this video?
I have.
We found the Commanders fans. I mean, Twitter did their thing. They found this guy.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, and apparently they got him fired.
They got him fired. Yeah. Apparently he was arrested.
Oh my gosh.
His name allegedly, I could be wrong, Jack Callis is the name that's being floated around here, who apparently has been let go from his insurance group, who in the quote that I saw said that we don't tolerate violence at all. And he's no longer a part of our organization. I did see that the police were looking for him earlier. All I'm saying is, this is my period on this. It's not a rivalry when you're just punching people in the face.
Right. No, it's definitely a rivalry. That's actual
you
rivalry.
do that because there's like a hatred or a upsetness or a frustration that's built up in you. And you know what, Ravens fans? I get it. Because when you go home at night and you open your closet's full of old Joe Theismann and Art Monk Redskins t-shirts and jerseys. And like you remember what it was like to be a kid and watching the Redskins and the Fun Bunch and Joe Gibbs and all those things. And you sold your soul because you wanted to see a team win and you weren't going to be patient. And you know what? It's hard for me to blame you. We've been through some tough stuff, Ty. Yep. In my lifetime since 1991, it's been anything but fun. But to say that the rivalry has not been instilled by former Redskins fans who have a hatred for this team because of what Dan Snyder did to them, I think it's just wrong.
Yeah,
I think it's just wrong.
There's definitely a rivalry there. Like I said, my experience at the game was a little bit different, right? Like walking up, we did the whole Ravens walk, which by the way, I'll give M&T Bank and the Ravens their flowers. Ravens walk.
Are they still doing like the purple camouflage and stuff?
I didn't see a lot of purple camo. I did not see a lot of purple camo. Yeah, it was a thing for a while, but I did not see a lot of that. But they had the Ravens walk. They got a bunch of music and people doing fundraisers and stuff. And it's a good atmosphere walking up to the stadium. But walking up to the stadium,
you also get to walk by one of the baseball stadiums.
Exactly, Camden Yards, go O's. But as we're walking up, didn't hear a peep from, like, no one said anything about, I mean, there was a lot of burgundy there, a lot of burgundy and gold. No one was really chirping at anyone. Like, it was just casual banter.
What was the percentage?
Ooh, okay. So I sat in the corner of the end zone on our sideline, the visitor's sideline, and I would say it was probably 35% burgundy and gold. Yeah, there was a good bit of burgundy and gold there. And during the game,
Ravens fans are going to say it's 5%.
No.
Ravens fans are going to say that we didn't begin to take it. And look, don't get me wrong. I've been in FedEx when it's 95% like the Bills.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I've been there for the takeovers. Clearly, that's not what happened in Baltimore on Sunday, but it seemed like there was a lot of burgundy in the crowd from TV.
There was, and walking around before the game, there was plenty of burgundy and gold there, definitely. And what I will say is there was a lot of Commanders burgundy and gold there. So they're coming out of the woodworks. They're supporting the new regime. There was a lot of Redskins stuff there too.
Ty, but no one likes the name Ty.
No one likes the name, but there was a lot of Commanders jerseys, a lot of Jaden Daniels jerseys too. I know number one selling jersey right now, but
where are you at on this, Ty? Help me as a lifelong fan, as someone that's grown up there. And I think that we can both agree that there's never going to be. Let's start here. Let's make this a foundation. You'll never replace Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be done. Like that name change, that knee jerk. This is what's happened. Like, dude, I felt like I got punched in the gut. I felt like someone pulled me off my dad's lap in 1991.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I lost everything. And so you just can't replace that.
Yeah.
Okay. So no name is going to be Redskins, but Commanders.
So I feel like my team doesn't have an identity right now. Like, I feel like I'm rooting for an interim team. And,
did you have a bigger connection to WFT?
No, I hated that too. I was like, this seems like they just couldn't come up with something. So I hated that. I was, big on the Redskins. The connection that I have with my father is built on Redskins football. Yeah, and, it was like such a big part of my life. And, to see it go away, I understood. I didn't agree with it, but I understood. But
I don't.
For me, here's the two big things that I wanted. If they were going to name it whatever they were going to name it, I wanted the merch and the uniforms to look cool, and I wanted to win. I still don't like the uniforms. I think the white uniforms are horrible.
They're awful.
And
horrible.
We're starting to win a little bit, so that does help. And obviously when you win, people, forget about it a little bit more. But there were a lot of Commanders gear. There were a lot of fans in Commanders gear there on Sunday. A lot of Redskins jerseys. I saw a lot of Sean Taylor ones. Saw a Ricky Irvin's jersey.
There you go.
Ricky Irvin's.
I'm with that. Here's the thing for me. Like I said, you can't replace Redskins, right? And I followed this transition a ton. Like I was dug in like a tick on this transition. It's so funny because I hadn't been doing Redskins content, and some of the local media in DC reached out to me and ended up doing an interview from Columbus when I lived there, talking about just all of it. And I think the biggest thing, the mistake that was made is the team told people that they'd be involved in picking the name, and they never were.
They never were.
They were.
They weren't.
The excuses for why Red Wolves wasn't chosen, and I'll be honest with you, I think Red Wolves is stupid. I don't think it has any connection to the area. I'm sure you could come up with some cool things. Like, if you wanted Red Wolves, that's great. I love it for you. I do. But the mistake that was made is this team told the fans, we're gonna let you choose, and then they didn't listen to the fans at all.
Yeah.
And I'm a dad. I got 2 kids. Okay. It's the classic dad trying to make everyone happy mistake that you just can't do.
Right.
If I go right now and I tell my kids, hey, what do you want for dinner? Right. And my son's like, ooh, I want pizza. And my daughter's like, ooh, I want spaghetti. And then we choose neither of those things. We choose chicken, and everybody's mad.
Yep.
And if we choose pizza, then almost everybody's mad. And you know what I mean? Like the only thing that you can do is give to everybody. And so they should have never done that. They should have never said like, hey, you have a choice. And you definitely shouldn't have done that when they didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to be, like I said, like I try to be that like non-homer, right down the line guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Commanders as a word is any worse than Buccaneers or Giants.
That's fair.
Or Vikings.
That's
like
fair.
It's not any worse. And to me, at least, the team is DC. It is a military area.
Yeah.
Like it is. Okay. And the difference is this team has been so bad for so long, Ty, that we didn't have any wins to hang our hats on. We had ownership that was absolutely embarrassing. We had an organization that was absolutely embarrassing. The one time that we thought we got it right with the quarterback, he breaks his leg in week 3 because we should have known that he had bad knees.
Yep.
And then we ran him into the ground. I mean, like the whole thing's botched and mismanaged and all these sorts of things. And all that this team, this fan base had to go on was to go back to remembering how it was when they were a kid. Every single time this team sucked, I would go home at the end of the season and I would watch all 3 episodes of America's Game and watch the Redskins and the Hogs and John Riggins. I just watched it with my son. My son watched all 3 episodes of that this year with me and was like, man, this was awesome. Right. Yeah. And I feel like that's lost, but that's only because they're not winning. And as they're starting to win, I think you're seeing the name catch on. I think that this name change shock is going to go away. If this is a playoff team, if Jaden does the unthinkable, if Jaden wins MVP, if Jaden wins Rookie of the Year, and they push hard, brother, I think the name debate goes away.
I think
totally.
It will. I agree with you.
Gone.
I think
because
it's
you know
gone.
what? The NFL and the Washington Redskins do not care about me.
Right.
They care about my son.
Yeah.
They want to get him.
Yeah.
And that kid feels like he was a part of the name change. And I'm like, dude, I should be real with you. I was so frustrated. Like we were moving to Florida. I was like, dude, the Dolphins suck. If I jump ship to the Dolphins, like no one's going to think anything of me because they didn't even have like Tua.
Right.
They have nobody. Like this can be a clean break for us. And my son was so excited about the name change. He begged me every day. Like we ordered hats and t-shirts the day they became available because he wanted it.
Yeah.
And to see that transition, I'm cool with it. Yeah. But like when they start winning, man, this whole thing goes away.
It was a little different for me. My dad was definitely like, you know, the name's stupid. We're horrible now. Ownership sucks. Like I can't do this anymore. And I was more just like, come on, man. Like let's just ride with them. You know, I'm not I get the military ties, and obviously with the NFL, military money is huge. Name ties in with, you know, the DC United, Washington Nationals, Washington Capitals. I get it. For me, it was just, I didn't want it to feel too new, and I felt like it was too new. You kept the burgundy and gold, but I would have been fine if they just kept the old uniforms and just changed the name to Commanders. But
you know when it came back to me, though?
They bring this white uniform in, and it's horrible. The black, the
white's terrible.
I just feel like the rebranding was a miss, but it's starting to catch on a bit.
I love the helmet.
Yeah.
I love the matte burgundy helmet.
Yep.
I wish I had the old helmet stripe.
Yeah, that's what I
wish I had the gold and white helmet stripes.
Yep.
I kind of wish I had the gold face mask, although I'm not sure how the gold face mask functions with a matte helmet. I'm just being
real. I don't know how that would look.
I think the logo's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's focused on like Washington. I'm glad that it's not a pig on the side of the helmet.
Right.
It says the guy with the pig mascot for his podcast logo. But on the Giants game where they came home and wore burgundy and gold pants, I was like, oh, this is my team.
Yeah.
Like when I saw those gold pants back and it felt the burgundy uniforms, I don't hate. I think the Commander's name on the front's a little bit too big. I get what they're trying to do, but I don't think it's executed well.
Right.
I think the sleeves look great.
Yeah. I
love so much in the black uniforms where they've got like the DC flag on there. I love that more than anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. The black's grown on me. I think it's a fad. Obviously, everyone wants to have black uniforms, yada, yada, yada. Burgundy and gold are the colors. The weird thing is, like from like a 50-foot distance, I think the white on white looks fine.
Yeah.
But when you look at the details of that white jersey, dude, it looks like a Pop Warner All-Star jersey.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
It doesn't
fit
bad. With anything else. The gradient.
I wish it would match. Yeah. I wish it would match the burgundy a little bit more. You know, the gradient and the numbers, like you said, it's terrible. It's terrible. But it's starting to warm even me up again. Those gold pants made a huge step forward to me. It made me at least trick myself into thinking that this was a team that I grew up watching, that there was some level of connection to them, even though there hadn't been. But I think winning cures everything. And so let's wrap it up here in a minute with this. We've talked about the branding. We've talked about the rivalry. We've talked about the fan experience. We've talked about the comparisons of Jaden to Lamar, to RG3, to all these guys. But here we are. We're going to week 7. The team is 4-2. This is the exact same trajectory of the 2008 team. They lost their first game. They won 4 in a row. They lost to go 4-2. and then they won 2 in a row to go 6-2. Jim Zorn's first year,
Hip, hip,
maroon,
hooray.
black, and gold. Hip hip parade
Oh.
themselves into a 6-2 record before the wheels fell off and they went 2-6. I say that to say, like, let's not get too ahead of ourselves because there's a lot of football left. And if there's a team to look past, it's this week's team. You can't look past them because it's the NFL. But like, I mean, come on, the Carolina game should be a win.
Should be a win. Should be an easy win. I hate using that word in the NFL because any given Sunday, but if this team plays like we've seen them play and they've beaten who they should beat, right? We beat the crap out of the Bengals. We beat the crap out of the Browns. We beat the crap out of the Cardinals. We should beat the crap out of the Panthers. Okay, Redskins of old, they might lay an egg right here. Go out, play great against a good team, and then lay an egg the next week.
So ugly that it feels like a loss.
Exactly.
They win like by a field goal at the end, and everyone goes home gross.
Yeah, I think this should be. We should dominate on all sides of the ball. You know, get back in good momentum heading to Chicago.
And that's the game, right?
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that game at all. Not even from the game perspective, just the whole media with Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels. Bears fans are insufferable right now.
The Bears fans have been building this like,
oh my god,
oh, we're being disrespected. Caleb is so much better than it's so funny. I saw a guy that literally wrote an article and he was like, you know, I wouldn't have if I had to do it again, I wouldn't have taken Jaden Daniels at number 2. I was like, dude, you guys had the first pick in the draft.
You got your guy.
You took your guy. Like, what are we being insecure about? Like,
yeah, I don't know what their fascination is with it right now, but
they don't stop, dude.
They don't stop. And like, the reality is both guys can be good. I know what Caleb doing is different than Jaden over there, but Caden is struggling too. I still think that my
favorite breakdown though was like Caleb is doing more difficult stuff. I was like, come on, guys.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He might make it look more difficult.
Obviously, the NFL needs this to be a big game. I wouldn't be surprised if this one gets flexed, even though last week's game is the one that really should have been flexed.
Yeah.
Last night's game, the Sunday night game, terrible.
Boring.
God awful. The Giants and Bengals game was pathetic. No disrespect to Giants or Bengals fans. I got friends that are fans of both of those teams. That game was horrible. If you want me to believe at all that was a better watch than Jaden Daniels versus Lamar Jackson, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But this Caleb Williams game, most likely, I think I'd say this way, I think it's got more than a 50% chance of getting flexed to being a Sunday night game.
Especially if they both win next week.
Yeah. The Bears are on a bye week.
Yeah.
Bears are on a bye. They won big in England. Caleb, let's give him his roses, man. The guy threw for 4 touchdowns. He actually threw for 5, but one got called back for like an ineligible man downfield or something like that. 4 touchdown passes. Still plays really recklessly for me.
Yeah.
He's a little bit too loosey goosey for my liking, but if it's working for him, it's working for him. Bears are winning, stacking wins together and getting ready. They've got 2 weeks to prepare for Jaden. They got 2 more weeks of Jaden tape than we have a Caleb tape, and so I think that, like, you know, that's a game that could be tough, but you have to go into that game at 5-2.
Yeah, you
have to be 5-2.
Agreed.
You cannot go into Chicago 6-2. I'm not going to waste any time breaking down the Panthers. The Panthers are bad. The Commanders are better. This is a game that the Commanders should win. We haven't been able to say that a lot in the last several years, so hip, hip, hooray for that. But take care of business. Keep doing what you're doing. This is a game that I think that you should win easily. There's literally no one in Carolina that scares me.
Yeah,
none.
Not a single soul.
No one. Frankie Louvu revenge game or not, no one that I care about, like even a little bit in Carolina right now. There's talk about Dalton getting benched. I mean, who cares? Like,
yeah,
you know, like,
yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, this is one of those where, you know, we might get an hour or 2 back of our Sunday where, you know, we're up by a lot. We can just relax, go do some yard work or something.
Yeah, we'll bench Jaden in the 4th quarter again and help him get ready for Chicago. I think the Chicago game is going to be a lot of fun. Tell me where we sit right now. Again, they're 4-2.
So
again, exact same start as 2008. What do you got for me for the rest of the season? Give me a bold prediction.
Bold prediction. See, this is going to be different than my preseason. My preseason prediction, I was kind of with you. I was like 3 to 5 wins. Right now, I think they're a 10-win team.
Okay. You got a little Kevin Sheehan action going on for you. That's what Kevin's been.
Yeah, I think they're a 10-win team. I think that could easily, I mean, the way Jaden's playing, that could easily go to 11. But I could also see it with, the way the defense is and way injuries in the NFL are, it could go to 8. So, but right now,
or Jaden could get hurt on Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, don't
I'm
say
like,
that.
knock on wood, knock on whatever. I'm just saying, like, let's be real.
Yeah, no, it could happen at any time. It's the league. I mean, good players get hurt. Aaron Rodgers got hurt 3 plays into the season last year. This stuff can change at any moment. It feels good to be riding the wave that we're riding on. There's no such thing as like a moral victory in the NFL, I don't think. But, losing to the Ravens, but competing with the Ravens feels good. So I think we're on the right track. I think we got, Cliff Kingsbury's still calling good games. I thought he called a good game yesterday. I think Jaden is, the guy. And I think we go as far as he can take us, and we're limited by the defense. So I think 10 wins is what I'm putting us at.
I love this about the Cliff Kingsbury thing. Obviously, lots been made to do about the very nice college offense that Cliff Kingsbury is running. It's a very, very nice college offense. And one of the complaints, even from Commanders fans, has been this screen game's getting a little bit out of control. And I think that sometimes people don't understand the difference in screen game and RPO. I don't want to get into all that right now. I'm just saying that there's a difference between RPO and screen game and what they're doing out of the pistol and what they're doing with putting players in motion. But it's so funny to me that after 2 weeks of people coming after Cliff Kingsbury as hard as they can for the screen game, that this man dials up a flea flicker screen on Sunday. The most ridiculous flea. And he went off for like 25, 30 yards.
Yeah. I was watching that live in the stadium, and we thought it was a broken play. We didn't even like really understand what just happened. I come home and I watched the replay, and I was like, did he really just do that?
That's a flea flicker screen. Cliff Kingsbury was like, say I won't. That's what that is.
He's having fun with it.
And you know what? I love that. There seems to be brotherhood here. There seems to be excitement. There seems to be people on the same page. Caleb Williams even said it this week. He was asked a question about what he thinks about how Jaden's been playing. And the first thing he brought up was that he thinks that Jaden's a great fit for Cliff, and he knows Cliff and he knows Jaden, and what they're doing together is something that's becoming special. And as excited as I am, I'm also a little bit bummed out because I think that Cliff's going to be in New York next year.
Yeah, it scares me.
He's coaching his way into being one and done with us.
Yeah, and that's what scares me. When you got a young guy back there that could be the future, you don't want to switch coaching staff.
You don't want to Jason Campbell him and give him five offenses in 5 years.
Yeah, that's tough. And hope it doesn't happen. Long season, you never know what's going to play out. Maybe Cliff sticks around. Maybe he has a meltdown like he did in Arizona. You never really know. But right now, I'm feeling good. I think we're going to get some wins. We're going to maybe win some games that we shouldn't. People might kind of count us out in some of the division games later in the year. But it's a long season, man. We still got 5 NFCs.
But honestly, man, who in the division right now? I mean, let's talk about the East. It's a nightmare, and we got to go because we've been doing this for a while. But come on. I mean, like, we're going to the Giants. You can't say right now that with the injuries and what's going on, the Giants. I mean, I'm sorry, Giants fans. You guys are terrible. Like, This team is awful.
Yeah.
You had 3 weeks of like a semi-good Daniel Jones, and I don't even know what he was doing. That dude was so lost on the field last night. I can't begin to tell you. The Cowboys do not scare me right now. There's nothing about them that scares me, other than the fact that they are the Cowboys and weird things happen against them. The team that scares me the most is the Eagles, and like even with them, Jalen is not consistent at all. I mean,
they look beatable.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I mean, okay, so like let's just go crazy, and the Eagles take both games. That's still 4-2 in the division.
Yeah.
And I obviously don't want that. If I were to adjust my preseason thing, and I don't know that I'm ready to do that yet, my preseason picks, I might be willing to say that it's like in a 7 or 8 win floor now.
Okay.
Like, I'm not ready to say what the ceiling is. I don't know. Injuries are a huge question. I think we need to see what the absence of John Allen looks like. Is it bad for this team? Is Johnny Newton getting more reps better for the team? I mean, who actually knows? We'll see in the next coming weeks. But, there are for sure questions, and I said it last week. A win against the Ravens changes the conversation. They didn't win against the Ravens, so I don't know that I'm ready to change the conversation.
I agree.
5 to 8 wins still seems kind of like fair. I could be argued into 10. That's great. I could be argued into 10 in a wild card. I could be argued into a 9-win season. Where maybe it's 9 wins and the rest of the division is so bad that they win the division. I mean, this is a team that 3-4 years ago won the division with a losing record and no name.
Yeah.
So I mean, like you never know in the East what's going to happen. And so either way, it's going to be entertaining. I think that the sentiment that this team is in every game that Jaden Daniels plays is accurate. I think with Jaden behind center, they get a chance to win every game that he plays. They have a chance to win. I'm not saying they're going to win.
Right.
They have a chance to win. They have a chance to be competitive. They have a chance to be in every game they play. The question is, how many games is Jaden going to play? That could change in a dime again. My biggest concern with him is he's a little guy. He's skinny, man. Like, I'm just waiting for the wrong hit. And again, that's that RG3 comparison. It's that RG3 PTSD that we're going through. And so either way, we got a super interesting rest of October and beginning of November football. And I'll say this to close, brother, when's the last time that happened?
Oh, dude.
When's the last time that they're in first place in mid-October?
No, I mean,
and
usually
likely first place at the end of October.
Yeah, usually mid-October, I'm doing draft study for the next season. Now it feels good to actually be invested still this far into the season.
Brother, there is a probability that going into the weekend of Halloween, they're in first place.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they win this weekend, they lose to the Bears, there's a very real possibility that in November, this is still a first place team.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man, it's
Long
been a lot of
season.
fun.
Well, it's going to be fun.
My guy, Ty, thanks so much for being here with me on the Son of Washington podcast. Do me a favor, tell everybody where they can find you, my guy, where they can find you streaming, what they can find you streaming. We'll put your link tree out and all that kind of stuff when we do the post, but tell the people where to find you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You can find me on all my socials at Ty Games. It's TYGAMES. You can catch me streaming over on Twitch at Ty Games TV. We do a lot of fun stuff with Apex Legends. We do a lot of giveaways, a lot of Apex tournaments and stuff like that, and always posting content on TikTok, YouTube, and all that stuff. So check it out. I'd appreciate it.
Ty, my guy, thanks so much for being here with me. You guys have been listening to the Son of Washington podcast. That's right. We're back from the dead and here to raise hail. Thanks for being with us, guys.